I bet you thought you'd never see this again. Us back in the kitchen doing a classic RetroBlasting restoration. And there's a reason for this particular one and why I'm filming it. Because would you believe that sometimes a toy has to be restored that's never been out of the box? I have in my possession a barn find 21st Century Toys Grumman Avenger. It's never been out of the box. And the box has been completely attacked in a shed by rats. So as you can see here, this is the patient. This is a 21st Century Toys Grumman Avenger. It is in the paint scheme that is unique to one known as Ida Red. And this is in a horrible state. I don't even know what we're going to find in here, honestly. I don't know what's left. I know the 3 figures are inside, but if you just look at this on the back of the box, let me turn this around for you. Ugh. The rats used it as a home, and they chewed a hole right through the back of the box. I have no clue what we're going to find in here. And it's going to be nasty, and this box is going to have to be thrown away with all the packaging. So let's get this thing free and then washed. And when you're doing things like this, remember, if you can, wear a dust mask. If you can't, keep your face out of this, because there's a lot of rodent excrement in situations like this, and you don't want that to go down your sink. You just want to get it cleaned up and put in a trash can. So we're going to be as careful as we can getting these parts out and then making sure there's no crap inside before we start the washing process. Okay, well, favor fortune's the bold. So even though there's a huge hole in the cellophane or the window, I'm going to open this up the way it would have been. The tape is still miraculously sealed. Please don't let there be a rat corpse in here. And yeah, it's already coming out. You know what? Ugh. Oh, Lord. Okay. Oh, man. I'm going to try and deal with some of this with a trash bag under it. Of course, it's going to try and get out from under said trash bag before it starts dumping its cargo. I'll tell you what, nothing's easy. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. If I cut the box away... Oop. Oh. There is no telling what's in there. There is no telling. All right, I'm gonna lift this. I'm gonna lift this straight up Actually, let me get another trash bag. Okay. I'm going to lift this thing straight up, and then I'm going to move it over to the counter. And then we're going to throw this whole thing away immediately. Good Lord. Okay, yeah, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Okay. Alright, well this box is now a write-off. I'm going to go destroy it real quick after dumping all this out in the backyard, and then we'll see how things go. So we're back, and I have Lysol'd everything for phase 2. So the countertops have been cleaned, my hands and arms have been cleaned, and now we're doing phase 2, which is only going to be marginally better than phase 1. We have to get all of these parts gingerly out of this bubble, and I have a feeling that a lot of accessories are underneath the blister, so there's going to be rockets and torpedoes under there, and I just hope that they haven't been disturbed by whatever lived here for so long. Okay, so let's get in there and get this thing free. I'm going to free the action figures first, and we have to be real careful with these 21st Century Toys action figures because they were notoriously under-engineered, and these have been sitting in a heated environment for a long time. All right, here we go. All right, these are all going to end up in boiling water without me even attempting to move a single joint yet. And there are 3 of these guys, and one of them fell out and he's in the back, so he's now right here. All right, so let's deal with them, and then we'll move on to the rest of the plane. Okay, so now that I've got my boiling water here, and I've got a spoon, which is really important because what I want to do is put the figure in the spoon so that the figure doesn't touch the bottom of the bowl, mainly because you don't want it to sit at the bottom of some extreme heat and then malform. So I'm just going to make sure that he gets nice and heated up, and then we're going to gently pop all these joints. These were horribly engineered action figures. They are notoriously bad. Okay. Be careful with your fingers because these are coming out of boiling water, so they're going to be really hot. Okay, that leg is wanting to... Okay, so the arms are coming up nicely. Legs are coming up, but it's these twist joints in the thighs that you really... These are the ones that'll get you if you're not careful. Yeah, see, even with boiling water, that thing doesn't want to move. In fact, I'd venture to say it's already cracked. Yeah, that leg's coming off. These toys were shit. See that? That's under boiling water. That is with boiling water softening up the plastic. These were some of the worst action figures ever. The ultimate outcome here is that the pilot has one working thigh, and then the pilot and the other crewman, I warmed up their legs and pulled the legs out with the pegs still on them, so at least I didn't have to drill out the upper thigh. But the pegs themselves were cracked and were coming off. So I'm going to have to get some Lego antenna and cut it to size to recreate these joints in both directions for these so that they can at least be posed and put in the plane. All right, let's get back to the main event first. We'll deal with the figures last. First, let's get this filth out of the kitchen. We're going to separate the main parts and put them on the plastic, then get those rockets out, and then get this piece of plastic out of here. Alright, that's one rudder, or tail fin, whatever, tail fin. The rudder's obviously the one that sticks straight up. Okay. I'm gonna have to shake these out to make sure there's no rat crap inside. That'll be... I don't hear anything. That's good. I think we're gonna get away clean-ish there. All right, we have 4 screws. I'll show you this real quick. You never want to forget these on one of these airplanes. Right there in the corner. If I focus in on this properly. See those back there? Those 4 screws? They're in a little baggie. We're going to need those. Alright, so here comes the ugly part. Taking this piece of plastic, this tray, off of the piece of cardboard underneath. And I hope to God it's not as messy as I think it's going to be. It's already kind of messy. Alright, that's actually not anywhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. This is now going to get thrown away, and then we're going to start washing this Grumman Avenger. This is disgusting. One of the props has been chewed on and bent and scarred. I think I can solve the bending problem pretty easily with some heat, but the chewing and the scarring part is going to take some finesse to sand it and just hopefully blend it back in where it's not noticeable. I know some people would probably go crazy with filler and epoxy and sanding and Mod Podge or whatever they use, but I don't think it's dire enough to try that and then make it look really weird. I think I can camouflage the damage with just some artful sanding. Alright, so we're all Lysol'd, we're all cleaned up again aside from these guys. And now we're going to do the really hard part. I should say, it's not really hard part, it's more of a time-consuming task. But it is possibly the most satisfying task of any restoration. And that's clean these things up so they're not filthy anymore. Well, I've just found a second problem. So if you look on the turret here, you'll notice that the rear gun has been chewed off. Fortunately, I've already thought of a solution for that, and it's going to be really nice. The bomb bay doesn't appear to have been infiltrated, so I'm going to close the bomb bay doors, or the torpedo door, I should say, back up, and just wash it externally. Dawn soap and warm water. There's so much brown I don't want to know on this thing. Just hope that I can get it somewhat clean. I'm using low heat. I'm staying well enough away. I don't want to damage this plastic. As much as it doesn't look like it's improved, it's actually improved a lot. I've done a number of careful applications with the heat gun, and I've been very careful in that regard because you don't want to damage the plastic while you're doing this process, or else you're really in a bind. So it was a very conservative application of the heat. There's still a little bit of a forward warp to it, but not like it was. It's far more in the ballpark of where it's supposed to be. So I used a wet sanding technique where I wet the sandpaper before using it on the propeller, and because the propeller was already black plastic, going in a circular motion, I've been able to blunt some of the marks. However, it has left a kind of lighter shade of black. Even though this was molded in black plastic, it's left a little bit of a black plastic mark. I might go over this one day in the future and respray the propellers with matte black. But for now, this is really a phoenix risen from the ashes kind of project. For now, there is a marked improvement in the propeller, and there's more work to be done, surely, including even filling some of this. But for now, I'm pretty happy with the result, and I'm going to move forward on the next problem. So for the purposes of this next repair, I need the fuselage to be more stable. I could have done that with the propeller, and I probably will if I make subsequent attempts to improve that repair in the near future. But the propeller also needed to be hanging off the table anyway, so wasn't that big a deal. So what I'm going to do before I engage in this next repair is I'm going to get the wings on and get this Avenger on its tires for the very first time. All right, so we have our starboard wing here. These just kind of slot in. As you can see, they kind of just peg in. There are some screws that we have to put in, so I'm going to do that as well. And then we have our port wing, and it slots into this tab right here, or slots over this tab. And now this plane is really starting to come together. So on the back of the Avenger was a motorized machine gun turret that would defend the bomber as it got away from its torpedo runs from anybody trying to pursue them or shoot back at them. This particular turret is turned forward in a configuration it wouldn't normally be able to do, but since I took the canopy off on this toy, I'm able to do that to get you a better shot. The barrel of this machine gun has been chewed off. Normally, the Avenger has a 50 caliber rear-facing machine gun. I understand that possibly some of the earliest variants had 30 calibers, but I can't confirm that. The point is that we've got to replace this or repair it somehow. Thankfully, Marauder's task force have 1/18 scale World War II accessories. Now, presently they only have them for action figures for the infantry, Army, Marines. This is a infantry 30 caliber World War II machine gun. Obviously, that's not a 50 cal. They do have a 50 cal, but it's the 50 cal infantry Ma Deuce, which has a completely different barrel than the barrels that were typically found on motorized turrets on World War II bombers. So what I've decided to do, since Marauders matches the scale, is use their 30 caliber machine gun on the back to replace this broken one, and it's going to look a lot better coming through that turret. The trick here is that this machine gun is glued to its ammo belt canister, and it's clipped around it. So I've got to figure out how to unseat the glue to safely get this off without breaking the rest of the turret. I can feel it wanting to loosen up a little bit just as I exert some pressure on it. But again, I don't want to break anything on this turret because it's miraculously survived the barn storage. Okay, so it's off, but it wasn't configured the way I thought. It was actually glue pegged in. This isn't a problem. It's just more of a annoying design thing. I understand that obviously they never expected these barrels to get broken in that fashion, but toy designers don't always repair-proof their designs, and I get that. They used to, well, except G.I. Joe. And now that it's conformed to the design of the original one that was there, with the infantry handle taken off the back, and it aligned with a nice cutout for the magazine, the ammo belt canister, I think this looks like a pretty good replacement. And the best part is, it has a really nice tight fit based on taking those exact measurements from the original piece. I just did a little cutout. I think it looks really great. I mean, sometimes when you're working on toys, you kind of think to yourself, am I a genius? In this particular case, I'm feeling pretty genius. I think that looks really good. Alright, so this process is pretty straightforward. I am using Lego antenna or the equivalent thereof. And then what I'm going to be doing is using a hand drill, and I'm going to be drilling out all of the busted joints that are still, in there. See that? And I'm going to drill out the holes in the legs as well, and then bridge them with extensions from these antenna. As you can see, I got the action figures looking good again. I got their legs all reattached through the use of the hand drill and the Lego parts. They are now fully functional and ready to go back in the plane. Well, after an arduous process and a disgusting cleanup, this Grumman Avenger is ready for the skies again. This was a weird challenge because this plane had never been played with, and yet it was wrecked. I'm still a little dissatisfied with the result on the propeller, the prop, but I will be continuing to work with it and even give it a respray at some point in the future. But first I need to keep heating it and coaxing it back into its original position. I got it part of the way there, but not all the way. There was also a weird quirk with this plane. It comes with its airspeed indicator, which is supposed to be on the far side, the far leading edge, or trailing edge, whatever you want to call it. That's the leading edge, trailing edge, wingtip. Should be on the wingtip of the port wing. I think that's correct. Might be the starboard wing. I can't remember now. It came with the part. I've seen pictures of other people having that part installed on their plane. There is no hole to insert this airspeed indicator into on this plane. I don't know if that was a manufacturing error or if they made a running change and then forgot to stop including the airspeed indicator part, but I have the part. It's real small, real easy to lose, nowhere to put it on the plane. Overall though, I am really happy that this plane was able to be saved. I collected 3 of these planes when they were out back in the early 2000s. Of course, the Spitfire, the ME-109, and the P-40 Warhawk in Flying Tigers configuration. And at the time, I remember this Grumman Avenger coming out in multiple paint schemes, including the George Bush paint scheme, because he flew that in World War II. I never bought it at the time in any configuration, but I did write to 21st Century Toys after seeing it, because I saw that their ambition was starting to get really impressive. And I said, hey guys, I would love for you guys to do a 1/18 scale B-17 Flying Fortress, specifically the Memphis Belle, the B-17F. I would give anything if you guys would do that, even if you made it just an online only thing, you know, from 21st Century Toys directly, with the 10 crewmen and you know, all the doors and the 4 engines and all that stuff. Because when I saw this plane with the moving turret and the big radial and the multi-person crew, I thought, oh, it can't be outside the realm of possibility to do a 1/18 scale Flying Fortress. Unfortunately, they went out of business, and we're now in a place with toy collecting where that's definitely cost prohibitive. But it would have been amazing back then when it was still affordable. I mean, yes, the Flying Fortress would have been over $150 because you got to remember, these were selling for $49.99. You got all this for $49.99. The smaller fighters were $39.99, sometimes $29.99, like the Spitfire and the ME-109. So a Flying Fortress at 1/18 scale back then, which is now 20 years ago, would have maybe set you back $250, maybe. It's impressive to think about. It's something that I really dreamt of at the time. And I mean, seeing something like that or a Lancaster in this scale would have just been incredible. But unfortunately, fate was not kind to 21st Century Toys, and we lost the line. But this one has been saved, and I'm really glad that the result is so satisfactory that it is very displayable. I'm going to keep working with that prop until I get it just the way I want it, and then this thing is going to be choice. So thanks for watching this, everyone, and we will see you on the next video.